Okay, I want to start off today with a graphical representation of something called the Gartner hype cycle, because I'm pretty sure that we're rapidly approaching a specific segment of that graphic called the trough of disillusionment, which is where the overinflated hype cycle of artificial intelligence comes crashing down around us. Just to make something crystal clear right now, I absolutely believe that generative AI carries a tremendous amount of downside risk. I think if we pursue the widespread integration of these systems in the military industrial complex or give them management authority in the context of corporate America, the subsequent damage will be profound, not to mention the concept of deepfakes, impersonation, or cybercrime. However, two things can be true at the same time, and even if the widespread commercial availability of these programs carries enormous risk, it's also possible to have a massive industry wide crash when the music stops, aka the trough of disillusionment. Here's what that looks like. First is the trigger event. Technology gets invented or popularized, leading to mass adoption. Second is the peak of the cycle, which is where we're at right now. Actually, maybe even ever so slightly after the peak. We're just now starting to come down, it feels like. And the tech companies currently benefiting from the hype cycle are getting a little bit desperate because of that. Third is the trough of disillusionment, where the bubble pops, the overinflated corporate profitability estimates get blown up, a bunch of companies go bankrupt, everybody realizes that the venture capital firms and the tech bros were lying through their teeth every other word. And then lastly, a slow rebuilding process takes place with the ultimate plateau of productivity. Generative AI is a little bit unique, however, in the sense that there's an omnipresent danger throughout this process existing independently from the hype cycle as a sort of shadow line. These tools massively facilitate spam. Practically the only profitable application of them at the moment is deception. And if a scammer finds a mechanism of increasing his reach by 6 orders of magnitude, you best believe he's going to keep doing it, regardless of what happens in the world of venture capital hype. Basically, down below the traditional Gartner hype cycle is a consistent threat now posed by generative AI when it comes to account security, phishing campaigns, identity verification, etc., ranging from does the job you're interviewing for even exist, all the way to is the person I'm video chatting with from that dating app even a human being? Anyway, I've talked about all that before. I don't need to rehash everything right now. So let's move back to the typical sort of industry bubble and talk about the crescendoing tidal wave of slop, which is very likely to become a mainstay catalyst in the impending collapse of corporate AI obsession. Let me introduce you to a company called Inception Point AI, which is creating thousands of AI generated podcasts every single week across a multitude of genres. But if you look at the actual quality of what they're producing, it's obviously garbage. They have all sorts of grand aspirations about how AI content creators will be even more successful than the human ones. And I won't even disagree that that could potentially be possible in some future version of reality. But that's not really their business model, is it? Their business model is spam. The entire premise behind this company is that they can make 3,000 AI generated podcasts per week at about $1 cost per episode, after which they monetize the shit out of them with pre-roll and mid-roll ads, which they serve consistently on their own network, ironically called Quiet Please, in association with iHeartRadio, which means that if they get just 20 listeners, give or take, on an episode, that episode becomes profitable. Say what you want to about drama YouTubers or content creators who put minimal effort into their videos. I know I have. I've called many of my peers slop creators in the past, which, now that I think about it, is something I may have been too harsh on. But no matter who you are or what you choose to make, anything produced by a human start to finish is superior to these $1 AI podcasts. Famously, Inception Point CEO Janine Wright has said, quote, "We believe that in the near future, half the people on the planet will be AI, and we are the company that's bringing those people to life," end quote, which is an oxymoron of a sentence really, but also perfectly demonstrates the mentality that these people have. As bad as they are, Inception Point is just one example. They're not alone. Far from it, in fact. Other companies like HeyGen are selling the option of making your own unlimited number of digital influencers for like $20 or $30 per month. And the issue expands to practically every single platform, which is built on the idea of UGC, or user-generated content. Amazon is still grappling with a tsunami of AI slop book rewrites. Etsy has been contending with its own tidal wave for a while, flooding the platform with AI-generated merchandise designs. And to an extent, this is something I've been predicting for like almost 4 years now. However, and I'm very happy to say this right now, the entire trend appears to be self-defeating. The AI slop tidal wave is about to hit a cliff. It is completely predictable that if given a path of least resistance, which requires zero creativity, zero effort, and minimal time, a large number of people will begin taking that path if they think they can make money from it, especially. So far, that sort of adoption wave has obviously taken place, but even as the problem continues to infect the entirety of the online world, what if I said that people were largely getting sick of it? The number of people who believe mass AI usage in everyday life is a good thing was almost unbelievably low, and that the more anyone seems to learn about generative AI, which is the best part, the less they seem to trust or use it. This right here is a meter study in conjunction with the Harris poll, which found that 78% of people are somewhat or very concerned about AI being used for malicious intent. That is a very good sign right from the get go, but there's more. This is polling from the Pew Research Center, which now shows that over 50% of people believe that AI will lessen their creative ability or others' creative ability and lessen their ability to form meaningful relationships, while just 5 to 16% believe the opposite, which is incredibly small. That is an overwhelming majority now that accurately understand the dramatic and negative consequences of using these programs. But the real icing on the cake, or maybe actually the cake itself, is this study right here, published by the Marketing Science Institute. Here's where it gets amazing. It turns out that lower artificial intelligence literacy directly equates to higher receptivity. In simpler terms, the people that don't understand generative AI or how it works are far more likely to use and trust it. And people that do understand what it is or how it works are less likely to use, listen to, or trust AI outputs. That is amazing, okay? It is. Because it's flatly inverted compared to the adoption trends for pretty much, I think, every single other major technological invention in human history that became successful. I'm actually so proud of humanity right now, because if you compare this to something like computers or Bitcoin even, you start to see what's really going on, and it makes me profoundly happy and hopeful. Think about what happened with computers, most of all. Adoption of personal computers and the internet, broadly speaking, contained barriers such as prohibitive cost or understanding how to use the hardware. But as people learned more about what they were or how they worked, and as the costs came down, especially, more and more people began trusting them. The adoption rate for computers and the internet dramatically rose because people learned more about them. And the same pattern holds true if you think about something like Bitcoin, even. Yes, crypto as a broader concept is a fucking cesspit scam industry that most people should be embarrassed to participate in. But the more that people seem to learn about what Bitcoin is and how it works, the higher the interest gets. The industry as a broad concept is in a bubble because of hype and greed. Sound familiar? But the tech itself has interest, and despite being complex for an everyday person to initially understand and use, once they learn about it, they become more likely to trust or use it. Now let's compare that trend to generative artificial intelligence. Quote from the study. Contrary to the results of 4 forecasting studies and a survey of top executives, we demonstrate that people with lower AI literacy are more receptive towards AI. We explore the relationship between AI literacy and AI receptivity across a range of populations, including students, online participants, and citizens across countries. End quote. It's honestly kind of difficult to express how happy I am about all of this, but here goes. One should reasonably expect that when an industry or technological innovation has effectively no cost barriers associated with it whatsoever, which AI doesn't, at least not at the entry level, the more that people learn about it, the more likely they would be to use or integrate it with their lives. The fact that people distrust AI the more they learn, and the fact that even students, once they begin understanding how it works, become less likely to use it for tasks, which I did not expect, means that a fair bit of my doomer mentality over the past few years might have been misplaced. Yes, there's a tidal wave of slop that is currently flooding a variety of platforms, but the wonderful truth about how society works is that literacy of new AI programs goes up over time, not down. When new technology is introduced, people don't know what it is or how it works, obviously, but over time, they learn, and as they learn this time, they step away from it, effectively speedrunning into the trough of disillusionment. I criticize YouTube all the time, okay, for good reason. But in July of 2025, YouTube posted an update to their partner program guidelines, which reads, quote, in order to monetize as part of the YouTube Partner Program, YPP, YouTube has always required creators to upload original and authentic content. On July 15th, 2025, YouTube is updating our guidelines to better identify mass-produced and repetitious content. This update better reflects what inauthentic content looks like today." End quote. It's not perfect, mind you. I think they should blanket demonetize every single channel that ever uses AI as its primary content completely and immediately. It's far from perfect. But even still, targeting the mass-produced kind of AI content is a tremendously positive step towards suppressing the slop tidal wave, and YouTube deserves credit for doing so. Of course, at the same exact time, they're integrating something called VO3 right into the YouTube Shorts platform so that people can just type a prompt and generate YouTube AI Shorts directly in the website itself, which is a completely unhinged contradiction, as they previously tried to mitigate the incessant spam, but at least it's something. I spend a lot of time focusing on what's wrong in the world of technology lately, so let me end the video with this. In a tidal wave of AI slop, authentic content feels like pure gold. People are very clearly pulling back from the idea of integrating ChatGPT or other language model programs into every facet of their daily lives, and as they experience a social media landscape that spams them incessantly with it across every feed that they ever try to browse, their propensity to watch and support real people will likely increase in tandem. The AI slop tidal wave is self-defeating. The more that people are inundated with this garbage, the more they become aware of what that garbage is. And with that awareness, the less likely they are to watch it, trust it, or use it. Meanwhile, the AI-based industry leaders, desperately propping themselves up in a circle of unprofitable promises, aren't capable of sustaining that cycle if the trend of user adoption, usage, and trust goes down the more that people learn. I talked about this recently, a week or so before the cycle fully completed itself, actually, but OpenAI has promised to invest $300 billion in Oracle over 5 years, who is pledging to buy acres and acres of NVIDIA GPU clusters, while most likely being one of their disproportionately large main clients. And now NVIDIA is investing $100 billion into OpenAI. Around and around and around we go, while every time they announce a new circular deal, the share prices go up. What I'm trying to say is that the music is stopping. The tidal wave of AI slop is causing a retraction in people's usage and trust, as every user-generated content platform grapples with mass-produced garbage, leading to a disillusionment phase where the hype recedes, reality sets in, and we manage to claw back just a little bit of sanity in this otherwise totally insane world. That's it. Hopefully a more positive tone for this one, because reading all of that research put me in a relatively positive mood, as I realize that people are generally starting to wake up to what the problems are and naturally create distance for themselves from them. It's a good sign. If you want to support the channel, check out the links down below, a special VPN deal, logos in Patreon, monthly memberships, and more, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, question everything, and have a nice night.